It happened on Thanksgiving, with steam rising off the food and the television murmuring football highlights in the background, like it was any other year. I reached for the chair at the head of the table, the same chair I'd sat in for years, when my stepson Brandon grabbed it and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "That seat isn't yours anymore." The room froze. Forks stopped midair. Someone's drink sloshed, and no one laughed it off. I stood there, half-bent, unsure if I'd heard him right. I looked at my wife, Sarah, waiting for her to say my name. She didn't. She straightened the tablecloth and said, "Let's just eat before it gets cold." That was the moment something inside me shut down. Not anger, not sadness, just clarity. I'm 70 years old. I've lived my whole life in Toledo, Ohio, where your reputation follows you longer than your shadow. I worked one job for 4 decades. Paid every bill early. Never once borrowed money I couldn't repay. I believe respect was earned through consistency. That chair wasn't special because it was fancy. It was my father's chair. Solid oak, worn arms, a soft creak when you lean back. He sat in it every Sunday morning, newspaper folded just right. When he passed, I restored it myself, sanding it slow, staining it dark, like preserving his presence. When Sarah and I married, second marriage for both of us, I brought that chair into her home because it felt right. Like joining families meant honoring what came before. For 8 years, no one questioned it, until Brandon's biological father, Rick, came back into the picture. Rick had missed most of Brandon's childhood, but now he was loud, confident, and suddenly very involved. Overnight, I went from Daniel to background noise. I paid for repairs, covered bills, helped Brandon when Sarah begged me to keep the peace. I thought patience was strength. That Thanksgiving proved me wrong. Rick arrived late, slapped Brandon on the back, and smirked when Brandon took my chair. "About time," Rick said. Sarah stayed silent. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I moved to a folding chair by the wall and finished the meal like a guest who knew better than to complain. That night, I left without saying goodbye. I drove aimlessly, phone buzzing nonstop. Sarah, Brandon, then Rick. I didn't answer. I stopped at a gas station and sat staring at my reflection in the freezer glass, wondering when I'd become optional. When I got home, my home, the one I owned before marriage, I opened the file cabinet I hadn't touched in years. Something told me to look. At 6:04 a.m., my phone buzzed with a credit alert. Major change detected. New account activity. My stomach dropped. By 6:15, my phone was ringing nonstop. Brandon's voicemail came first. "Hey, something's wrong with the bank. Call me." Then panic. They froze everything. I can't even get gas. Then the truth slipped out. "Just telling you approved it. You always handle this stuff." That's when I knew. I called the credit union. The woman on the line spoke gently. "Mr. Daniel, you're listed as a co-signer on a personal loan currently in default." "How much?" I asked. $21,900. Opened 10 months ago. My name, my credit, my life, used without my consent. I went straight to the credit union. The paperwork sat between us like evidence at a crime scene. The signature wasn't mine, but it was close enough to fool someone who didn't know me. Signed, D. Moore, the way I used to sign decades ago. Only one person knew that. My wife. I filed the fraud report with a steady hand. By noon, Sarah was crying on my voicemail. Brandon was furious. Rick left a message telling me I was destroying family over paperwork. Paperwork. That week, I sat with an old friend from the VFW, a retired legal clerk. He looked at the documents once and said, "If you back down now, they'll do it again." The investigation moved fast. Text turned ugly. "You were never my dad. You owe us. You always pay." The court date arrived sooner than I expected. In the courtroom, Brandon couldn't sit still. Rick looked bored. Sarah stared at the floor. The judge listened, reviewed the signatures, heard the investigator. Then my voicemail was played, the one Brandon left laughing. "He won't do anything. He never does." The room went silent. The judge didn't shout. She didn't need to. Fraud confirmed. Responsibility reassigned. Consequences ordered. Outside the courthouse, Sarah grabbed my sleeve, her hands shaking. I didn't think it would go this far, she whispered. I looked at her and said the truth. It went this far the moment you stopped seeing me as your husband and started seeing me as your safety net. The separation was quiet. No yelling. Just paperwork and empty rooms. Brandon lost his truck. Rick disappeared again. Funny how fast family vanishes when the money stops. A month later, I retrieved my father's chair. No one argued. That night, I placed it by my living room window, poured coffee, and sat down. The house was quiet, not lonely, honest. I didn't win. I reclaimed, because revenge isn't shouting. It isn't fists. Sometimes, it's simply refusing to carry people who push you out of your own life. And if you've ever been told to know your place, remember this. Your place is wherever your name still means something.